Right, how is everybody doing this evening? There's a little bit of tension in our communities that I've noticed, and some people have been able to relax for the last 4 years, and some pretty big events, and attending to the elections and the events, and a little bit of anxiety as this unfolds. A real opportunity for practice, a real opportunity to cultivate our path, a real opportunity to be a benefit to others. Not a fun one. But as His Holiness pointed out in this text we've been studying, that it is people that we have difficulties with, people that we're challenged by, offer us the greatest opportunity for insight, wisdom, cultivating these 6 perfections that lead to a path of awakening, that are a path of awakening, even a better way of putting that. And a real opportunity for me and you and all we come in contact with to benefit if we can bring our care, compassion, loving kindness into our interactions with them. This begins with our own hearts and minds. So a lot of opportunity here. The times that we're living in, we have a pandemic, we have an election, we have a country here, and I'm speaking of the United States, I'm looking at everybody here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody's USA here. So economic insecurities, a transition period here, it looks like, to a new president. And everything a little bit unsettled because nothing's quite definitive. How often do we actually have an opportunity to really experience instability? Right? We can meditate on it, we can study about it, we can talk about it, we can elaborate upon it. Every day is unstable, and every day is arising and coming and going, and there really is no stability in that sense, and never has been, never will be. And yet, that can seem very elusive or just a concept. But I think right now we have a real opportunity. I think people have had a chance to viscerally experience instability. We may have had a glimpse before in our lives, and bits of time. We've had insecure times, we've had difficulties, we didn't know where things would come and go. And then as our life gets back to some sense of well-being, some sense of routine, and our needs are met, and then our mind settles, and then we forget all about that instability, and we start building up our nice stable environment, dependable job, and my relationship, and the house, and the things that I want to do, and plan my vacations. And so easily, we can forget about those times. We've had another recession before these times. We've had, in my lifetime, I remember gas shortages. I remember having to park a car in a line, a long line that went around the blocks for gas. I would park it there because the gas station only opened for so many hours, odd or even license plate. And, they would open at a particular time. You park it there, so you go get there, and then you can wait to maybe get some gas. But I hadn't thought about that in a long time. So our way of interacting in the world, so condition that we often only cultivate some wisdom and a depth of understanding about instability and security and what's truly meaningful in challenging, difficult times. And then as those times fade away, it's very easy to not remember them and to move on and to cultivate some more attachments and get that stability that doesn't exist. And then we get shocked, and then we get hit pretty hard when things get challenging. So a real opportunity here that these last couple of days, I know there's anxiety and angst as the elections approached, and then last night, things looked one way, and then now tonight things look a very different way, and so the invitation here, I think, that is so important to not miss is how much of our mental and emotional suffering, how much of our angst, how much of our struggle, if we've had some, I don't know that you did, but you may have, and I'm just talking about election-wise, had to just do with your mind, what you were thinking about or dwelling on, projecting, what it felt like last night versus tonight. How much energy was spent stressing, worrying about something that you ultimately have, no control over, and that there's this world that we're living in that arises in dependence upon karmas and the actions of multitudes of beings and all the causes and conditions that have given rise for this world we experience to be shaped, of which we're this little piece. And so here we really have an opportunity, to learn a little bit about ourselves, to see how our mind can create stability where there is none, where we can make things very real and exaggerate them, where we can really get a sense of me and them, right? Those people, and really miss the foundational teachings that we've been engaged in now for quite a while. We've been doing this text for quite a while. Some of them have been doing Buddhist teachings for a long time. And who is this me that's getting all worked up about what? And maybe losing completely the opportunity that's here, the opportunity to be of benefit, the opportunity to be of service, the opportunity to recognize my grasping of self and my attachment to people and things being a particular way. And a belief that if they were, everything would be better, as though I know how things ought to be. Right, as though I know. So a real opportunity here to cultivate a path of a bodhisattva. Is there a time that we need bodhisattvas more? And we'd say, no, it's never been like this. And we go, well, I don't know, maybe World War II, World War I, mass, genocides that have taken place. Probably very, actually more difficult times. So that's another thing I think that comes up a lot, this idea that, it's never been this way, and yet actually it has, and worse. And losing perspective, losing an ability to seize a moment in a clear perspective as an opportunity to both cultivate this path, to be of benefit to all sentient beings, to tangibly be there in this very conventional experience that we're having as human beings, to help our neighbors, to be an example of tolerance, of understanding, of compassion. One of the people I know that's on here, I won't put you out there directly, but had a talk with him this morning, and he said, what the community needs is calm. my practice is being calm and bringing calmness to others. Think about how wonderful that is. Very few people have the teachings that we have. Very few people have an understanding of this interdependence, an understanding of the causes that give rise to this grasping and greed and the division, and understanding the deeper rooted causes and conditions, the afflicted kleshas and karma, the self-grasping that creates suffering, and a misperception that gives rise to it all. And we've been given this gift. And now we've been given the ultimate gift of having a real, concrete, visceral experience, so that we have an opportunity to put these teachings into practice. And somewhere in the midst of all this, we can potentially forget all that and set the practice aside, or just think of this as something to endure rather than to flourish in. Within the 7-point mind training, transforming adversity into the path. I mean, this is the first point here of that 3rd point. Yeah. Love Buddhism, man. That's the first point of the 3rd point. That's 7 points. Lots of points, lots of numbers. But the teaching there is, when we're, confronted with evil. I mean, it's a word, evil in dark times, and just these degenerate times and difficulties. Well, then we see that as a blessing of the mind by the Buddhists. And not that the Buddhists created this for that, but that the attitude I can engage with this is to see this as a blessing of the Buddhists have been looking out for me, to give me an opportunity right here, right now, in this lifetime, to really make progress, to see and understand, experience directly my self-grasping, to have an opportunity to see the greed in others, to see the manifestation of all these afflictions arising from misunderstanding and a self-grasping that is foundational to all the suffering that we see. That this is a blessing in the sense that I have an opportunity not to just to see it, to know it, to garner both that wisdom and that insight, but that motivation of bodhicitta to do something. And that I can use these times as an opportunity to cultivate this bodhicitta, to engage in this path of a bodhisattva in ways that are truly meaningful. And, as a trajectory, much greater than my normal experience of day to day when I'm not facing such adversity. And yeah, I can miss all that. So tonight, I just wanted to, step back from the text that we've been studying and reflect upon the times we're in and the opportunities it presents. And by opportunities, we have a chance to be an example of calm, be an example of tolerance, to be patient, to be a bridge of people, to speak in ways that people can hear, to recognize that this is a very interdependent experience we're having, and for our communities to heal, for our country to heal, we're going to need to care for each other. We're going to, especially as bodhisattvas, understand their suffering that gives rise to the clinging, that gives rise to the words of hatred and division, and understand that they're not bad people. They're misperceiving people, confused people, scared people. And it's their afflictions that are rising. And maybe we can learn how to interact with them in ways that recognize their value and their fear and recognize their confusion and be patient, just like people have been patient with us when we're confused and angry and pointing at those and having anger and hatred arise. So much, I think, for our times that we're engaged in right now are really going to require loving kindness and compassion in our daily actions and a deep understanding of our dependently arising experience with them. That we're a part of, and that we're a part of this with them. So Jetsuma Tenzin would say, so yeah, we should be real happy. Blessing of the mind, we're ready to roll. How wonderful. And maybe we're not there at that point, but maybe we can recognize that this is an opportunity. And I'd like to seize it. We don't know how much time we have. So a real opportunity to, before we begin our days, to take some time to reflect upon why there is suffering in the world. And in this text, it points out, where the trouble begins with this afflicted state of mind, this grasping and confusion, and to understand that, and just going back core to three root poisons, the three root poisons that give rise to all of this suffering, this misperception, this misunderstanding, this ignorance of self and others, of my experience in this world I'm living in, that gives rise to attachment and aversion, or often greed and hatred, depending on which wording we use. But out of my self-grasping, it's not accurate. My sense of me is separate from, independent of you, and inherently existent. And seeing you that way, I'm going to find a sense of things I like, the greed, and the things that I don't like, the aversion, the anger that can arise, and all of these activities that spawn from that condition and create the samsara that I'm experiencing. All the other karmas and kleshas that give rise. Once again, arising from self-cherishing, misperception of me, liking this, not liking that, that division and misunderstanding, which is different from things that I would prefer and things that are unhealthy. And having a preference that's healthy and skillful, and being able to engage with people and others, the world that I'm living in, with loving kindness and compassion, but can be assertive and have good boundaries and choose healthy actions and not unhealthy ones. That seeks to have a wise, discerning desire for well-being, cultivation of compassion, a path of awakening for others, to be helpful. These are all healthy ways of engaging in our conventional experience that are meaningful, but they're based in a understanding of our interdependence and what gives rise to happiness, what gives rise to suffering. And it's been pointed out in this text, Shantideva and so forth, that the real cause of all suffering is non-virtuous activities, body, speech, and mind. The source of all happiness, virtuous activities, body, speech, and mind. And so that's why in our daily practice, again and again, and every single day, it's listed 10 virtuous, 10 non-virtuous. Cultivate the virtuous. Stop doing the non-virtuous and purify our negativities. If we want to improve the world, this is where we start. It's not getting that jerk to do this or that. And we have this real opportunity to be active participants and living examples of virtuous activity, motivated by compassion and a real desire to remove the suffering of all sentient beings as we engage in this day that will never come again. Be a real benefit to my community. So tonight I just really wanted to take a moment to step back and invite us to have an opportunity to see that this is a time where we get called to service, and a time that, as His Holiness would put it, we can be wisely selfish, which means that in my actions to be a benefit, to engage in a bodhisattva path, to cultivate wisdom, compassion, be a benefit to all beings, well, I'm going to benefit immensely. It's not my motivation, but wisely selfish. I will get these benefits, as opposed to seeing these times in a particular way, labeling people this and that, reifying people and seeing them and adding to my misperceptions, grasping and clinging to ways that create anger and hatred and resentment, and speaking ill of others and so forth, which is actually just perpetuating. I'm building my own prison of samsara. So a really incredible opportunity to engage in this path, to bring healing to our interactions with others, to be living examples of bodhisattvas to the best of our ability, right? To the best of our ability. And understand that I am creating the future right now. I'm creating the future right now. If I want a better future, well, it's going to begin with how I engage in this moment. What I'm experiencing now has already been created. What I'm doing now is creating the future. So we have a real gift right now to engage in this environment we find ourselves in ways that can heal and be helpful, can recognize my own prejudices and biases, and then I can recognize the opportunity to release them. So I'm just going to pause there. We've got 15 minutes, and just see if anyone has any thoughts that they'd like to share, any questions. I'm going to pause, get a drink of water. Give it a minute, because my computer's kind of slow. Often I don't see the hand pop up. So if you comment or thought, or also type in the question and answer section there. And while you give a thought to that, this is a really good time to get right back to basics. And we do have our morning practice that gets posted every day, and that goes over these 4 thoughts. An invitation to reflect on the virtuous, non-virtuous actions. A little insight from His Holiness around emptiness, that we've had some opportunity. And getting back to being aware and picking a virtuous activity that I really want to cultivate and grow. Can we bring that to mind? Really get back to the basics, really get back to our motivation, really remind ourselves of the gift of this day that will never come again, the path that I have accessible to me, and the freedom of liberation as we have this. And what's going to matter is how I show up. This is, I think of it as, when there's a fire, the fire department shows up, and it's time for bodhisattvas to show up. Looks like I may have something popping up here as a chat. Okay, yeah, thank you for that comment. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, we don't really have like the Batman cape, but the bodhisattvas show up. And the thing that I think is really valuable to remember here as we show up as bodhisattvas in daily life, that many of them have showed up in our life. People have helped us. People have been here in ways that have really, been of benefit. And they just look like regular people. The 7-point mind training again. Transform your desires, but remain as you are. And what that means is that we transform our minds, we transform our grasping, we transform, we engage in this path, right? We mind training, we transform ourselves, we gain some ability to meditate, we cultivate compassion and wisdom, we gain some realization. But remain as you are means you don't show it to anybody, you're just a person, just like you always are. In a store, just in a store, nobody needs to know you're a bodhisattva. We don't need to brag about how many mantras we do or how long we can meditate or, what empowerments we have or how many times we've, had this teaching with so-and-so. We're just, in my case, I'm just John at the supermarket. And the people next to us don't need to know there's a bodhisattva right there, ready to be a benefit in any way they can. And that we can, as pointed out by a dear friend this morning, even just bringing calm, being calm in line, being calm. Or when somebody complains out loud about this or that, maybe having a skillful way of reframing what's going on in terms of just, changing the topic or, what's, we're grateful about or what's good in that moment, and that you've noticed that we can be this example of and ways to interact with others that get off dwelling on the anger or attachment and onto some gratitude or some way of shifting them in a way of more calm and peace or compassion. That this is really what we're going to need. We're going to need to find common ground and be good examples. I've shared a few stories through my times here, and sometimes I think, not that story again. So there's one that I haven't shared in quite a long time. So maybe those of you here haven't heard it, but it actually happened here when I was a monk, and I was actually in Aspen, and first time I'd been up here, so that was 2008 or 2009, maybe 2009. I'd come up, and we were a group of monks. We were doing a Sam Mandala, and we were doing some events, and a local radio show interviewed us, and I shared a bit about what we're here for and what we do, and the next day we were at the mandala, and the monks were creating it, and this gentleman came up to me, and he was seeking me specifically because he'd heard me on the radio, and basically he came to save me, right? To convert me to Christianity and to save my soul. And so he's there sharing, the liberation of Jesus Christ and heaven, and that it's not too late to repent and to embrace Jesus as my Savior. And and as he's talking, it occurred to me, that well, at first, I was thinking, and is this really like helpful for him? That I wasn't, and I did, when he gave me a moment, I shared with him, is this really the best use of your time? You can help so many people, and yet, I'm a Buddhist monk. It's not like this is just sort of a phase, I kind of thought this thing through a bit, and so I'm, someone who's got a path, who's pretty fully committed to it, and wouldn't your time be better spent, helping some of those who need to find their way, and he said no. He goes, if somebody was in a burning building, right? When you go in to, and so he saw me actually as in much worse shape than a lot of people, and he was willing to be there for me, to help me. So this is an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to, I'm not offended by that. I was thinking, what passion he has for his path and for his spiritual journey, and dedication to be of benefit. And, he really had my best interest at heart. Oh, how wonderful. And so, me, them, right? And so what I shared with them was that I was really grateful. I was really grateful that he was so kind to come out and to offer such care for me. And but unfortunately, well, I'm not sure I used fortunate. Maybe I did. Is that I'm not able to engage in religious debate or discussion with him. I appreciate the loving kindness that he's offering, and I value that. But it would be unethical for me to engage in a religious debate with you, because I might say something that would have you question your faith, and for me that would be completely unethical. You've got a path, you have your religion, and it is clear that it is meaningful to you. So I would never want to share anything that might have you question that. And so I appreciate that you came out, and I'm so glad you have a path that works for you. But I can't engage in a religious debate, because I really would much rather honor that you found your path. And he actually, took him a minute, but he appreciated that. And what happened was, instead of him and me or this or that, I think there was a sincere recognition of two beings that really, were honoring each other. So in our divisive times that we're in, there's these others that we label and that we see in a particular way. And instead of us and them, we and ours, because we and ours is how we actually exist. We and ours, everything I have in my life, because of all others that have created those things, the roads, you've heard me share this many times, the roads, the food I eat, the little container I'm drinking water. How many people were involved in making that so I could have some water, and even me getting that water, and how many people were involved, in animals, and just all the conditions that gave rise for me to actually have a drink of water, or a container to have water, to be here on a computer, and so forth. That's how the world is, and my misperception is it's not. I'm me, and that's my water, and that's my water bottle, and those people are like that, and I'm like this, except I haven't always been like this. I used to be like, very different. Matter of fact, it's pretty solid. I applied to be a priest when I was 18, so So there's that, right? So I used to be like that. Now I'm like this. And tomorrow I will be evolving. And so will all others. And so these times that we're living to will also change. The question is, how? How will they change? Well, if we create more intolerance and hatred and anger, well, we can see how they'll change. If we bring love, kindness, compassion, well, then we can see how that might change. This takes time, but it plays out. And we have an opportunity now to really change the world that we're living in. And that's by creating the conditions of loving kindness, acceptance, communication, understanding. Those are the ingredients for that future experience that we get to have with others. If we add those conditions, those causes. But if I don't add those, and if I continue us versus them, well, the future is going to be pretty bleak. So my inspiration today is to invite all of us to be examples of bodhisattvas, to transform our afflictions but remain as we are, to be just another human being here on this planet, trying to be a benefit to others, being a good friend to all that we encounter. Which does not mean we're doormats or anything like that. It doesn't mean we're not assertive. It doesn't mean that. It means that we're healthy, that we're balanced, that we address injustice and difficulties in ways that are healthy and meaningful and productive, understanding that they're arising from misunderstanding. And so that we can address situations without hating the other person. We can address situations and their behaviors, recognizing that that's another person just like me trying to find their way, who's shown up in this moment in that very confused way. So we show up, we engage in virtuous activity, and we do our best to create a safe, healthy, and conducive environment for all of us so that our communities can heal and that we can truly be a benefit and help heal the divisions that we find ourselves in. So that is my request to you, to do your best to be a good friend to your communities, to your neighbors, to those you encounter, to be a bodhisattva in action to the best of your ability. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just maybe we could do a little better. And understand that in each step of kindness and compassion, we're creating the future in a healthy, meaningful way. Right, we are here at the end of our time, and yes, I hope you all are healthy and well, that you're safe, that you're taking good care of yourself, good care of those around you. Please be careful as far as washing hands and face masks and distancing. We're about to, this is exploding in a much greater degree, the pandemic, than even the first wave. So be sure to really take good care of yourself, good care of those around you. Be thoughtful about how we interact with people, and just do our best to be bodhisattvas in actions, which means taking good care of yourself too. All right, I'm going to bring our dedication up here, and we can dedicate the incredible merit, wisdom that we have cultivated from our time here, seeking to be a benefit to all sentient beings. Well, let's just take a moment once again to be in this moment. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. I'm adding an extra piece. May all the leaders currently in our time, may they find the wisdom and compassion to see through any confusion they have, to truly be of benefit to the communities they serve. All right. Real honor and a joy to sit with all of you tonight. Thank you for all the good you bring the world and the kindness, the compassion that you display every day. Oh, a couple announcements, sorry. We do have a very special event coming up on the 19th, a film, and it's inspirational, poignant, feel-good movie through the Compassion Film Festival that we host. And so that's on November 19th. Aaron is getting that organized. We'll get an email out. We'll post it in our community as well. But November 19th, How the Titanic Became My Lifeboat. Incredibly powerful viewing. It's online. It's an extension of our Compassion Fest. And then also on the Sunday afternoon, the 15th, a retreat on loving kindness. I thought right now would be a good time for loving kindness. So on the 15th of November for 3 hours, 2 to 5, be hosting a retreat on loving kindness, a practice and wisdom of loving kindness. So those will get posted, and really appreciate the opportunity to be of service. Thank you.